serious operation on their 4-month-old son yesterday. And we just ask for your continued guidance and direction there, and be with them and hold them close. There will be tremendous and speedy recovery and healing with their very young son. The Eshelman, Andrew, is the key component of staff at 80 West Baltimore in the engineering department. Just watch over them as a family. Lord, guide us, direct us, use us here today for that service. I pray in thy name.
Amen. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Thank you. I'd like to call the July 10th, 2018 Washington County Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. With that, I'd like to also ask for the vote of support for the approval of the June 19th, 2018 minutes. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you. And you didn't. You just didn't pop in. I know you.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
You have the authority to do the.
Okay, welcome back. We'll start out with Commissioner reports and comments, and we will start with Commissioner Kiefer.
Well, I'll keep it brief since we're running a little late. Just want to thank everyone for showing up to vote on Election Day. It was a very humbling process. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Klein.
Who's involved with the salute to independence at the Antietam National Battlefield. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Myers. Commissioner Barr.
And I'll pick up with where Commissioner Klein left off and just say a praise item that no one was hurt at the salute to independence. There was a misfire with the fireworks, and it looked pretty scary. And thank goodness no one was hurt. Little time delay, but as usual in 33 years, it's an absolute phenomenal event. This community has a lot to be very, very proud of. In 33 years, there's never been one issue, one arrest, one commotion, nothing to report on the negative. Even trash after the event, it's just phenomenal that within an hour after the event, there's no trash anywhere. It's just amazing the respect and the dignity that people have attending that event. And next year will be the 34th annual event, and look forward to that. So thanks to everyone that works so hard to make that make Washington County very proud.
Thank you, Commissioner. For myself, I'd just like to echo all of the comments to the MSO event down at the Antietam National Battlefield. When I made a couple of comments there and I looked out, I don't think I've ever seen that many people stretched out across the battlefield. I don't know if it was a record crowd or not, but it was pretty remarkable. And I did forget one thing in my comments. I did forget to tell everyone that was in attendance that was just a typical July day in Washington County that we had there that evening. So it was just an awesome evening. Zero humidity, perfect temperatures, and again, just a typical July day in Washington County. So also, I'd like to welcome our new clerk, Mrs. Krista Hart here. She's replaced Vicki Lum, and just wanted to congratulate her and thank her for her willingness to do these duties. So welcome. And that concludes my comment. Well, I saw we have several county commissioner candidates out here in the audience. I see Donna Brightman, Court Meinl-Schmidt, Elizabeth Paul. Did I miss anyone? Just like to thank all three of you for attending our meeting today, and welcome. And we'll have a little citizens participation here. If you all would like to make a comment or two, you'll be welcome to do that. And that concludes my comments. And last chance for commissioner comments. Okay, let's move down to reports from county staff. We have any staff in the chambers that care to provide a report today? Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Danielle Weaver, Director of Public Relations and Marketing. I just wanted to come in front of the board today to make you aware of our recent partnership with the Herald Mail for the UIP construction in downtown Hagerstown. They recently, yesterday, the live feed was started, and for the next 18 months, there will be a live feed of the construction project in downtown. So we have partnered with the Herald Mail, and Brittany is going to pull up a video. This video will be shown prior to anyone going to the page to view the live feed.
Washington County stands ready to help your business grow. Thanks to our crossroads of Interstate 70 and 81, more than 66% of the U.S. population can reach Washington County overnight. With 4 airports within a 90-minute drive and the Port of Baltimore being so close, it's easy to meet your global customers' needs. Incentive packages from county and state government offer a wide variety of incentive opportunities, including employment tax credit, foreign trade zones, manufacturing incentive opportunities, and so much more. We are committed to customer service, dedicated to progress.
And this video can be changed out monthly, and this is a live feed of the actual construction happening right now in downtown Hagerstown. And we would also like to point out that Bowman Development has provided the real estate for the camera, and that's on top of 28 South. And then Antietam Broadband is providing the camera and the stream.
The camera location.
Yes, on top of 28 South. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other staff?
Good morning, Craig Rowe, Major.
I'm sorry,
Yes,
we're
sir.
still on our staff comments. You're later on the agenda there.
Well, I understand, sir, but this is a separate item.
I'm sorry.
That's
Go
quite
ahead.
all right.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The House Bill 447 of the Maryland 2018 legislative session established a pretrial services program grant fund. The Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention has offered the bill allotted $1 million to be spread for counties to start a pretrial supervision program, and because of the short turnaround that the GOCCP is requiring, they put this NOFA out, and it has to be back in by next Tuesday. And speaking with grants programs people, they suggested I come before you here during the open comments to ask permission just to apply. We don't know if we'll get anything. We would just like permission to apply. So,
Moved.
thank you.
Hold up.
Okay.
We need a motion and a second, so we
Okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. I don't know if you just wanted to consent.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm Stephanie Stone, the Director of Health and Human Services.
And I'm Debbie Payton, Deputy Director of Human Resources. We come before you today to ask permission to fill the Director of the Economic Development. We have several of them. This is the first one.
advertise.
I'm sorry, to advertise.
And this will be in-house and out?
Yes,
In and
sir.
out? Okay. Okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
We also request to advertise for the Airport Director.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
And that'll be inside and outside as well.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
And the next one would be for the Director of Environmental Management, and that would be internal only.
It'll actually be internal and external.
Oh, it will be?
Request.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Okay,
Okay.
motion and a second for that recommendation, internal and external.
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
And the last one I have to request is the Assistant Director of Emergency Management.
Who's that?
That would
Charlie Summers.
That's okay.
He is.
He's retiring at the end of this month.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Any other staff here care?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Susan Buchanan, Director, Office of Grant Management. I'll just be very brief. I just wanted to make you aware of a hotel rental tax funding award for the 2018 Washington County Ag Expo and Fair. Award has been approved for $7,500 for the cost of the Washington County Sheriff's Office overtime. And that event is an event that meets all 7 of the program's funding goals, and the attendance this year is expected to be 40,000 people. The event will start on July 14th. Any questions?
While we're talking about that issue, and I don't know if it's Jim's, I guess Jim's here, yes. Are we going to be able to open the second entrance or exit on Keedysville Road? Yeah. Just for safety's sake, and I see the sheriff's here. Okay, because Sparksburg Pike on some nights is very dangerous.
Yeah, and I would suggest there be some type of radio contract back and forth, because they were leaving people out on Keedysville Road, turning right on Sharpsburg Pike, blocking people in to the main parking area. So if there's ways that traffic can be staggered or incremented and released from the property, that would help the main entrance. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other staff here in the chambers care to provide a report? Okay, let's county attorney issues. Administrator comments.
2 things, President Baker. First, I'd like to second your comments about Krista welcoming her at a staff level, and I'd like to report that she's serving both her former position and her current position as clerk right now, so you probably won't notice the difference, but bear with us through the transition. We have advertised and received 35 applicants for the executive assistant position, so we're very excited about the prospect for that position. And now with the 5 additional positions, we will be very busy throughout the summer hiring and interviewing for the very best candidates possible to fill these positions. And speaking of upcoming events, I wanted to share with you that on Monday the 13th, that is the day before the last meeting before you go to MACO, there will be a candidate open house event in which I will see that staff invites all the prospective candidates, yourselves included, to an open house here to ask questions and present some general information to each candidate. So look forward to having those that are here in the room and all those that may wish to join us.
So that'd be county commissioner candidates on the 13th of August. Okay.
Yes, that is a Monday. Yes. And we will get out that to each of the candidates. I believe Krista already has the addresses of each, an invite for that. Thank you. The media will be invited to that event as well. We haven't set the time yet. We're going to look. Yes, it will likely be in the morning.
Anything else?
I'm sorry, sir, no.
Okay, Mr. Hovis?
No, sir.
Boards and commissions?
We do. For the Hagerstown Regional Airport Advisory Commission, we have a recommendation to appoint Mr. Rob Curry to serve an unfulfilled term through September 30th, 2020, due to a resignation.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for that recommendation for the airport board. Any further comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
And for the Antietam Battlefield Advisory Committee, we have a recommendation to a Cornell Doyle to serve an unfulfilled term through February 28, 2020, and to appoint Michael Barnett to serve a 3-year term through July 31st, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second for those approvals. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you. That's it. Okay, last chance for staff comments.
I did have one that I forgot. I saw a number of Ellsworth staff members pulling the light plants down, and I'm sure they put it up as well. So, at the Salute to Independence. So,
32 years.
thank you. As a participant there and a visitor, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, wellness program event, the Wellness Fair, Ms. Payton, Mr. Overcash, Jamie Dick, and Danielle Weaver.
Do citizens participate?
As soon as she's done. Thank you.
I'm just here to inform you about an exciting event that we're planning for our employees, and it is on Thursday, August the 23rd, and it is a wellness fair for our employees. Per our contract with Aetna, the county, they give us $20,000 annually in support of our wellness initiative. This year, Aetna is sponsoring the 2018 Wellness Fair. This event will include local fitness and wellness vendors such as gyms, Department of Natural Resources, Sky Zone, and current healthcare providers such as Aetna, Delta Dental, United Healthcare Vision, and many more. In addition, we're going to have demonstrations from the Washington County Sheriff's Department, Fire and Rescue, a fly fishing demonstration, CPR, AED instructions, and cooking demonstrations. Full-time county employees will have the opportunity to participate in wellness activities such as yoga, walking trails, basketball, golf, punting, etc. for prizes. We have drawing for door prizes. Each employee that attends will be able to enter one time for a drawing. The door prizes include a Yeti cooler, a golf package, camping package, Fitbits, wireless earphones, bikes, and a running package, Apple Watch, and much more. All full-time employees will be permitted for 2 working hours of time to attend, including travel. We will have food trucks available on site for purchase. And we hope that you, as commissioners, can come join us in this great event that we're planning.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for the Wellness Committee? Okay. Thank you very much
Hope
for
to
the
see you
information.
there.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, citizens participation. We have any citizens here today who would care to participate? Okay, no one wants to speak to the commissioners? That could be a good thing. Thank you. Okay, bid award PUR 1383, plumbing and heating maintenance services. Ms. Noggle. And Mr. Panisi, how are you two today?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Randy Noggle, buyer in the purchasing department.
John Panisi, Deputy Director of Parks and Facilities.
The recommendation before you today is for the bid award of PUR 1383, plumbing and heating services for Washington County. The recommended motion today is to award the bid for plumbing and heating to the lowest responsive bidder of Beaver Mechanical out of Hagerstown, Maryland, in the bid amount of $43,575. The bid was advertised on the State of Maryland's eMaryland Marketplace website, the local newspaper, and the county's website. 11 different vendors downloaded the document off the county website, and on June the 6th, the county received 2 bids for this contract. The contract is for a period of 1 year with 4 consecutive additional 1-year periods. In addition to Washington County, the Health Department and the Housing Authority also use this contract. Funds have been allocated in various departmental line items.
Okay, any questions, comments on the contract? If none,
Motion for approval.
one.
High dollar amount?
It was
Must have got it back.
big difference.
Not a typo. Okay.
Not a typo. I think he was just not expecting what he's seen, the vendor. He was new. He visited every site too, so There was no misunderstanding.
Okay. Motion and a second for the recommended motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Community Development Block Grant Applications. Ms. Wilson? How are you today?
How are you doing?
Good.
Hello, I'm Tina Wilson, Senior Grant Manager of the Office of Grant Management. I'd like to move to approve a revision to the resolution of support authorizing the submission of the county's application for fiscal year 18 Community Development Block Grant funding for the Hagerstown YMCA after-school program in Hancock. The county submitted an application requesting $51,455 for the Hagerstown YMCA after-school program in Hancock, Maryland. The Department of Housing and Community Development is requesting a revised resolution to the previous submitted. The Board of County Commissioners approved to submit an application requesting $51,455 on June 5th to be used to fund the after-school program. This will be for the 2018-19 academic school year. The Office of Grant Management received a notification from Department of Housing and Community Development requesting a revised resolution to reflect their updated 2019 Policies and Procedures Manual, providing the required language in the resolution. The grant application was made available for public to review on June 20th, 2018 at the Washington County Office of Grant Management, located in this building at 100 West Washington Street. The grant will provide up to $51,455 for the Hagerstown YMCA after-school program and include $2,450 of administrative funding to Washington County Office of Grant Management for the cost of administering and monitoring the grant.
Okay, any questions, Commissioners?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you. Okay, Adult Day Reporting Center grant approval to submit application. Ms. Wilson and Mr. Rowe. How are you two today?
I have Mr. Major Craig Rowe with me, and also, if additional information is necessary, Rebecca Hogelmeyer is back here also to answer any questions. I'd like to move to approve the submission of the grant application for fiscal year 19 Adult Day Reporting Center grant to the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention in the amount of $270,000 and accept funding as awarded. The Washington County Sheriff's Office plans to utilize the funding provided by the grant to continue the operations of the Adult Day Reporting Center. Adult Day Reporting Centers provide community-based services and treatment to offenders under parole, probation, or pretrial supervision in order to reduce recidivism, jail populations, and other associated corrections-related costs. Day reporting centers are a collaborative effort of the criminal justice system, substance abuse treatment, and mental health systems to treat offenders rather than using punishment as a deterrent for criminal behavior, with the goal of preparing offenders to continue in the community in a meaningful and productive manner. In fiscal year 17, Washington County was awarded $540,000 by the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention to establish the Day Reporting Center, with the option to apply for 2 additional years of funding with a 50% match requirement. This application is the final year grant funding from this program will be available. The Office of Grant Management has reviewed the grant application and grant funding guidelines. The performance period of this state-funded grant is 1 year commencing July 1st, 2018. The grant will fund personnel and operating costs associated with the program. It requires a 1-to-1 ratio match for all grant funds received.
Any questions, commissioners? I can't remember, but didn't you absorb some of that, and I'm not sure, in your budget? Isn't some of the match absorbed within your budget, or is that additional money provided by the county commissioners?
That's within the budget of the day reporting center. We submit a budget for day reporting as well as detention and central booking through the detention center.
I thought the sheriff absorbed some of that additional request within his budget, but I can't remember. I was looking at the sheriff.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Well, there are some things that are absorbed, but it's not part of the match.
Okay. And then how many graduates have we had?
We've had 20 individuals that have completed the program. Currently, there are 43 participating in various phases, and we have another one that's pending assessment for entry.
So of that 43, does that include the 20?
No.
Okay. Okay, any other questions, comments? If none, motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Conic treatment plant ENR upgrade. Mr. Bradshaw, how are you today?
Doing fine. How are you doing?
Good.
This morning I bring change order number 5 for the conic wastewater treatment plant before you for approval in the amount of $110,469. The change order includes a total of 11 different items that we've encountered during the construction. A quick overview: item number 1 was some VFDs. Our plans originally showed we had 40 horsepower digester blowers. When during construction, it was discovered that the blowers are actually 50 horsepower, so therefore the VFDs had to be upgraded to accommodate the additional power. Item number 2 deals with explosion-proof heater for the headworks building. The plans did not indicate that it had to be explosion-proof, and that environment does require explosion-proof motors due to the methane coming out of the sewer. So we have to upgrade the heaters to be explosion-proof. Number 3 dealt with a credit. Inside the ox ditches, we had to put partition walls up, and they called for water stop to be installed, but we went ahead and eliminated the water stop, and we had a credit that was split evenly between us and the contractor. Item number 4 was for lifting cables for the portable hoist, so that we can have the cables tied off and then only have like 1 or 2 hoists, and we carry the hoist over to wherever we need it and hook it up so we can pull out the pumps. Item number 5 dealt with connecting into the clarifier splitter box. The plans called for them to connect into the existing piping, but once we got the piping exposed, it was actually encased in concrete, which means we had to redesign and reconfigure all our connections. Number 6 dealt with the scum pump nozzles. The height had to be adjusted to match the design and everything. Number 7 was for the iron worker wage rate. That has been brought before you a couple different times. When we advertised the project, we did not have the current Davis-Bacon wage rates, and the current wage rate actually increased the steel workers, so we pay the delta. Number 8 was another conflict with connections shown. When we actually dug up the utilities, we discovered that there was a utility duct bank right where all the connection points were supposed to occur, so we had to reconfigure the piping, and unfortunately that was 42-inch ductile iron piping, so we had to add a bunch of fittings and mega lugs to that. Number 9 dealt with the sump pump located outside of the solids building. It was an existing pump, but as part of the upgrade, we're installing all brand new MCCs, and that sump pump was not showed to be connected to anything. It was missed. So we had to add the buckets and stuff to the MCCs to control it, and also to hook up some programming to monitor the alarm points. Number 10 was the scum baffles and the clarifiers. They needed to be made taller, so we had to increase the height of the scum baffles. And number 11 was a utility water leak. We had one of our yard hydrants. The contractor was working in the area, so we assumed that he had damaged it, so they dug it up. Once it was dug up, it was discovered that the fittings were just deteriorated over time and were leaking as a result. It was not the contractor's fault that he damaged it. It was just a leak. So since it was not part of the contract, they are requesting payment to repair that. We do have monies available in the CIP. And with this change order, we will still be under 2% of the contract value of change orders. So if you have any questions about any of the particular items, I'll try to answer them. And we did negotiate this down from $123,000 down to the amount you have here. And originally they were requesting 28 days, and we did decrease that down to 6 through the negotiation process.
You have adequate funds. What is TRP 018? I don't know what
JIG E&R upgrade. It's the CIP project.
So what's the fund balance?
No, I don't have those sheets.
You can just email it to me.
Okay.
And then the other, and this is just a question for me, on your original contract there, did our staff do an analysis and kind of estimated what they thought the contract would be? Did this contract come in under budget?
It did, yes.
Okay.
I think the engineer's estimate had it just right around $30 million for construction, and the bids came in at 23.8. So 23.8. So yes, it did come in under what was originally estimated.
Okay, they were my questions.
Just a comment. I'm sitting here looking at this, and item number 2 and number 9 specifically kind of jump out at me that, almost it appears from my perspective that the engineer should have been responsible through errors and omissions for those 2 items in particular. And ironically, it's almost 50% of this change order. I would hope moving forward, when it clearly says the plans failed to show connecting, and it's, the other one is the specified unit was not explosion proof, and yet it needed to be. They're the kind of things that I think somewhere along the line, the engineers needs to be responsible for those items. So just from my perspective.
Okay. It's up to you.
Good. Yeah.
That's great, John. I'd take
Yeah.
it. Bring it back next week.
So we'd like to have some answers to Commissioner Barr's. Was it 8 and 9?
2 and 9.
2 and 9.
They both appear to me that an engineer's errors and omissions insurance should be picking up some of that.
I will approach Pukar Hornbeck, and I'll come back to you next week with a response. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you.
Mark, one other thing about that is how close are we now to a final closeout change order on this project?
We've reached substantial completion, so from an operational point of view, everything is operating. Right now, we're finishing up the paving, planting a little bit of grass, some touch-up paint. We still got to add a few labels to some of the equipment, like name tags have to be added yet. So probably next month, we'll be wrapping everything up.
Commissioner Baker, there's slightly over $3 million left on the project.
Okay.
The remaining balance.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Paul F. and Patricia B. Miller, Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program, CREP. It's an easement proposal. It's revised, and I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Seifert. How are you this morning?
Good morning.
Still in the morning hours.
Thank you. We were here June 5th, and we had a combined project for CREP and Rural Legacy for the Millers. We had to revise the CREP portion, and so we're here today to do that. The corrected amount, as you see there, is $117,829.84. So with the corrected amount, we also have a curative ordinance to be recorded. So we will submit this project with the Rural Legacy to the state if approved. Are there any questions?
Okay, any questions? If none, need a motion to approve the recommended motion.
So moved.
Motion a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. There we go. I've got to pronounce this word again. Discussion of the Shanghong Clover Corporation lease in conjunction of the Board of County Commissioner meeting on June 19th, 2018. Mr. Wanri Lowe, Mr. Gunn Lee, and Mr. Joe Lee.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good
Warner
morning.
Lee, CEO of JG Business International.
I'm Joe Lee, President of Washington Realty Management. Greg Murray.
Yeah. I want to state that Mr. Murray, originally we want to hire on board with Washington Realty Management last July, but for suggestion from county staff, we weren't able to do it at the time, but I want to announce today that we have retained him officially on board as the CEO for Washington Realty Management, which is why he's here with us today.
Would you repeat that again, please?
So he's actually the Chief Executive Officer for Washington Realty Management, one of the companies working on with us on the Cascade Development Project.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, and this is a discussion of the lease, and you're going to be providing some information here. Thank you.
Thank you for the time. The reason why we want to meet today was because of just some of the things that took place, the discussions that took place on June 19th. I've provided an email that we submitted to the county staff and also to the commissioners. I'm just going to go over the email first. So to the Washington County Administrator and the Board of County Commissioners, JGBLI is submitting this message in response to the discussions that took place on June 19, 2018, during the open session of the Washington County Board of County Commissioners meeting. I will address four following issues that has caused JGBLI to respond to those discussions. First, the Chung & Clover Corporation lease. Second, discussion during the open session on June 19, 2018. Third, the 63-acre parcel owned by the Cascade Town Center Development, LLC. And fourth, we have an email from a concerned partner. So for the Chung & Clover Corporation lease, the discussion starts from the memorandum of agreement agreed upon by the Board of County Commissioners and signed on November 3rd, 2017. In it states the terms of the lease of the former commissary building, the $2 million investment that the parties would act in good faith, and this company would be located at the Cascade Town Center. The agreement was signed by the Washington County government, Chung County government, the Chung Business Council, which is now the Chung Clover Corporation, and JGBLI. Washington County also agreed to cooperate with the Chung Clover Corporation to expand its business into the Cascade Town Center and entrance into the U.S. market. The MOA is attached in the documents that you have.
The second page.
As to comply with the request of the county, JGBLI submitted a proposal that outlined what was already in the memorandum of agreement on December 8th, 2017. In the message, we indicated that we would like a draft agreement to prepare the lease. The email detailing this is also attached. From December 8th, 2017 until May 8th, 2018 for 6 months, there was no indication from the county to the agreement or terms. JGBLI submitted another proposal that further detailed the intents of the Chong Corporation with modified terms on May 28th, 2018. The email detailing this is attached. This proposal included information on all trips taken as requested but not pertinent to the lease. This still had not elicited a response from the county. Also, during this period, JGBLI had met with Chong Clover Corporation, a corporate conglomerate with your sister county, multiple times in Korea, and courted them to continue interest and solidify investment for the project. The Chong Clover Corporation visited May 29th to June 1st in 2018. This visit was planned 2 months prior, and discussions regarding lease returns were never broached to the Chong Corporation by the county. We have planned this with the Department of Business Development, Public Works, and Public Relations. During this visit, the Chong Clover Corporation opened accounts, visited sites for initial seeding, and requested locations for an additional 800 acres for agricultural use. None of the county's leadership met with the Chong Clover Corporation during this time. After numerous requests, the county finally provided sample templates for the lease agreements on May 10th, 2018. The email detailing this is attached. JGBLI submitted the draft agreement for the Chong Clover Corporation on June 5th, 2018, and the email for this is attached. JGBLI had yet to get any comments, revisions, or terms directly regarding to the lease to this point. JGBLI was invited, then denied the opportunity to discuss the lease during the closed session on June 12th, when the details were released during the open session the same day. During the discussion of the open session on June 19th, 2018, as the issue of the lease was not an official agenda item during the open session on June 19th board meeting, JGBLI was not afforded an opportunity to represent itself. Multiple issues were discussed during this meeting, none of them which JGBLI was ever consulted. According to the Master Development Agreement, JGBLI has the exclusive right as a developer to market the Cascade Town Center with a first review period at 5 years to acknowledge the time it takes to allow for initial development. As an incentive to also acknowledge the investment that JGBLI is making, the Master Developer Agreement also states that any engagement or promotion cannot be done without our written consent, and any outside engagement has to be done with our consultation. The Master Development is attached. Developer Agreement is attached. Excuse me. An open RFP was discussed without our consent and conflicts with the original memorandum of agreement that was signed with the Chong Clover Corporation and Chong County government. On 2 separate occasions, JGBLI has submitted the proposal for the Chong Clover Corporation, and the county administrator stated that we hadn't. Commissioner Kiefer stated that he was interested in open RFP process, and he engaged individuals that were, quote, interested in taking part of the project and ready to move, end quote. Both issues conflict with the Master Development Agreement, as JGBLI never consented to an open RFP, was consulted about any change in process, or was ever introduced to these interested parties. County Administrator Slocum twice mentioned that a potential swap of 63 acres for the commissary building. The county has no authority to infer whether a transfer is an option without Cascade Town Center Development LLC's consent or approval. The 63-acre parcel is privately owned land by the Cascade Town Center Development LLC. There is no consent given, thus no authority to the county regarding the transfer or exchange of the land in the 63 acres. The Cascade Town Center Development LLC has paid for the taxes in the property, invested in design drawings and civil work, contracted landscaping, invested in renovations solely owned by CTCD, and started the pre-construction process for multiple sites on the property, and has marketed the design plan for the property. And then finally, we have an email from a concerned partner. For the past year and a half, JGBLI has been working with numerous consultants, investors, developers, contractors, and academics, and executives for the development of the Cascade Town Center. The board meeting, along with the article posted on the same day, caused concern from our partners in Korea. One of our team members who introduced us to QD Partners in Hong Kong, and InnoBiz, a hotel developer, and the Korea Special Agronomics Corporation, who is providing a $32.5 million investment, has already contacted us regarding the article. I actually want to, on the very last piece of the packet, there's a translation of the email. And I just want to read a few parts from it. If you start from the third paragraph. So this is from Ki Suk-yeol, who's a consultant with our development, and it was one of the ones that introduced us to QD Partners. So from the third paragraph, however, I read the article in the Herald Mail Media on June 20th. I'm writing this email with the concern on whether this development project will continue in the future. According to the article, it seems that JGBLI's exclusive right for the development will not be maintained if third parties' involvement is allowed. If so, we think the integrity of the current comprehensive master plan will not be maintained as planned. Then it will be difficult for our investors to participate because of the lack of merit. I'm very worried that it may result in wasting our time and effort on attracting investors to the Cascades Town Center. In fact, we have already lost a $100 million investment from QD Partners, a Hong Kong-based investment firm, due to internal circumstances of Washington County government from earlier last year. I'm seriously wondering if we should proceed with the current investment plan for a $20 million hotel development, a $32 million smart farm facility, and if the negative environment that the Washington County government has been making persists. We hope that you'll be able to provide us with your confidence that the Cascade Town Center development project will be directed as originally planned, and we have confidence in the success of the Cascade Town Center, and we have committed to attracting investors based on our trust with JGBLI, and we certainly hope that the project will carry on as planned without problems. Now, that being said, we are providing a preliminary trip report, but prior to the trip report, I did want to address that for every trip that we have taken, we have provided county staff with a report, regarding every trip. And I know that there will be discussions on some of those expenses, but it may be done without context, which is why we are again submitting this information so that the county staff will be able to review it. On top of that, there was also discussions of the architectural design.
One row, in all fairness now, on those reports that you've provided to the county, we've had to ask for them several times. Is that correct?
We have asked for reports, yes.
Yes, and in all fairness, we've submitted them every time we came back, and also
we didn't get them in a timely manner either now, in all fairness.
Usually we submitted the reports within a week or two after.
I know I haven't received them in a timely manner. But anyhow, go ahead.
Well, as far as we know, we submitted to the staff, so we don't know where it went afterwards. So, and also to provide context, there was also some discussions regarding the architectural drawings and also the website. We did submit the receipts for both of those, and to provide some context, ESOC Holdings, one of the partners that we were dealing with, did put together the master plan design, also worked with Gensler to provide the drawings, and also did feasibility study work for us to assist in that development, and we did submit that information. And then as far as the marketing promotion regarding the website, we did work with a local firm, Power Marketing, to initially try to put this together, and the initial costs were agreed upon, and the works were supposed to be followed through. Unfortunately, they only provided us with a logo and some preliminary package designs. And as far as the website, their costs decided to overrun on the budget. So instead of continuing to work with them, we decided to terminate services with them and used another firm to be able to provide the website. We did request from them to release the domain for us to be able to use. Their response was that unless we paid them the remaining amount that they were looking for, even though there was no services rendered, that they wouldn't release it. So we turned them down, which is why the current website is cascadetowncenter.net.
With regard to Power Marketing, since you brought them up, I was told that they were asked to use some copyrighted photos that you provided to them, and they wouldn't do that because that's the reason why they kind of backed off on the project a little bit. Did you ask them to use photos that you didn't have permission to?
So we contacted the original owners of the copyright, and they did give us permission to use them.
Okay. Has Power Marketing been paid everything for their services that they provided?
For the services they provided, yes, but they also retained funds regarding the website that they didn't provide services for. We had asked for templates. We had numerous requests regarding how the design was going. It went for several months before we could see something, and then when we finally stated, well, we need to see something at this point. We were told that costs were overrun, and then they wouldn't be able to continue unless we continue to fund it, the rest of it. So,
This logo.
yeah. The current logo that you see, the Cascade Town Center, that is what has been provided so far. That being said, on this past trip, which just got back yesterday, so I hope you can excuse a little jet lag. We had 19 different meetings with 16 different entities. Not only that, we had to do a lot of discussions regarding with ESOC Holdings, Tetra Metropolitan City, Seoul Metropolitan City, and particularly the Military Mutual Aid Associations, which have been major partners for us. The Clinical Trust Center for Functional Foods, and discussion with the China Clover Corporation. Now, with ESOC Holdings, they were finally able to, we were able to finally come to terms regarding what could be done. They have a better understanding of what the current process is, but they still are awaiting a response from the county regarding what I've stated in the message on the 21st. They did provide us a letter expressing some of those concerns, but in particular, since they are bringing in several $1 million worth of investment to the Cascade Town Center.
What was that amount again? Did you just say 20 million?
Several million.
Oh,
so
several million.
There's proposals not only for the 63 acres, but also the remaining 528. And it stems from either the resort piece or the hotel piece. The works that he needs to do is already expanding over $250 million. But his biggest concern is obviously with the actions that's been taking place regarding the open RFP and those processes. His level of confidence is still yet to be resolved until we are able to resolve these issues as well. That being said, two entities, Yo-Yo Korea and Kyung University, when they
back to those issues. So you said till several issues are resolved. Go over those issues again, please.
Well, in particular, the biggest issue is he wants to see if we can resolve the issue with the Chang'an lease first of all, and the second piece is the open RFP issue. That was really big cause of concern for a lot of our investors because the open RFP. And the reason being is that it's very difficult for these folks to come over here and to court them and to be able to get them interested into the project. And then for them to go through another process, especially since we've already stated what the terms are going to be, gives a competitive advantage to anybody that's going to an open RFP. And that causes a lot of disinterest for any sort of Korean partners to be participating in this process. So with that being said, Kyung University, Yo-Yo Korea have already stated that they are no longer interested in participating with us. Yo-Yo Korea was the one that was going to be developing the winery on the site, and Kyung University was one of the major universities that we had been speaking with that had interested 3 different departments that would be entering into the administrative complex onto the Cascade Town Center. We were able to establish a few of the partnerships. The Military Mutual Aid Association, ESOC Holdings, both stated that they would still like to continue working with us regarding this, and also Hanbei National University is still committed and on board. The other, so the two issues that we still need to be able to resolve is the Channel Clover Corporation's lease and also the open RFP issue. When we did meet with the Channel Clover Corporation, they were not too thrilled about what was stated. They really were hoping that we would have a lease with us. Unfortunately, we did not. That being said, it's something that we still need to be able to work on and resolve. And then the final issue, I guess, is also a discussion of the Global Infrastructure Cooperation Conference that we had mentioned 4 weeks ago. That last piece is whether or not the county would be participating in that event. They have stated to us that they need a response by this Friday. So if there won't be any county representatives for that trip, then we'll have to find another avenue or representatives to be able to go with us for it. So.
Okay, anything else?
Those are the three things that we're looking forward to today is a response to the Channel Clover Corporation lease, the response to the open RFP, and then a decision on the GICC.
Decision on the
Global Infrastructure Cooperation Conference, the trip that we had proposed the county attend in September.
Okay. Any questions, comments? And we'll be back in, unless someone has a comment for the three requests, we'll have to provide information back to them on that later.
So you need time to discuss it.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
And right before we finish, I'd like to submit the reports again. I brought copies with them, along with some copies of the letters that we've received and some email exchanges that we had between Power Marketing and also the development packet that ESOC Holdings was able to do. This past trip, we also printed out 3 different booklets that we provided to the GICC. The reason why we had to print out so many is because we had the main packet, the main development plan, along with 2 specific ones that we printed out for our investors. We printed out 800 copies of the original development plan and then about 300 copies each for the more specified books. So I'll be submitting to the county.
Can I ask a question before we leave? The commissary building aside, I know there's been some discussion here today about the commissary building and how important that is to the project. Last year, 60-some acres was transferred to JGBLI for the, that was supposed to kickstart the project. Any progress on that you can share with us? Because my understanding was that was what was to get the project up and going.
Yeah, well, we have...
Any progress you can share with us?
Well, we were hoping from this past trip that we would be able to solidify some of the contracts regarding the Brand Hotel, the Melco office building, some of the residential units that we were going to, do as a new part of the development. When we discussed it with them, they were openly concerned. The discussions that happened during the meeting, as far as not only the open RFP, but whether or not the 63 acres was actually, within, our possession.
So, barring last month, in the first 11 months, was there any progress?
There was significant progress, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
They've had the property for 10 months. And bear in mind that when you look at that one letter that he referenced, that $100 million worth of investment was pulled off the table. That was after the property was received because of concerns that the investor had in development of that property. So they've had now to go back and restructure how that investment works, find new investors to supplant that $100 million, and take a different marketing approach because of that. So that extends the time frame and extends the amount of cost locally that it takes to make that development
Earlier
happen.
this year, we were told that some building permits were going to be applied for January, February timeframe. That didn't happen, so that was before these conversations, just to be fair. That was before these conversations, so that never materialized back then. Just a statement.
Okay, so when we were talking with the investors, they still had to put together design plans and concept plans and understand what the costs and the infrastructures were going to be. I mean, for just the 63 acres alone, we have an estimate of $17 million that would need to be developed into the infrastructure. I mean, that's not something that is just decided overnight.
But before we approved money for the March trip, we were told January the March trip that we had approved and talked about. We were told that building permits were this close to being applied for. I think that was some motivation for that trip.
Well, until we actually, finalize the design plans, you can't submit building applications.
That's what we had to share with you. That's right. I'm just saying.
Okay.
For clarification, can I get your 3 questions again?
So the first thing that needs to be resolved.
Email them to Jim or to me or to both of us if you'd like. It's up to you.
Would you like me to submit the 3 questions in email, or
You can
just
repeat them here or email them. It's up to you.
Okay, we can do the email again, but the first thing is the Challenge Clover Corporation lease. The second piece is the discussion regarding the open session and the open RFP. That was discussed on June 19th. And the third thing is the Global Infrastructure Cooperative Conference and whether or not the county will be attending.
Commissioner Kiefer, bear in mind that the initial groundbreaking was anticipated to be spring of this year, and that was prior to any events happening in 2018 to keep it out of the election cycle. And when there's more time to discuss with everyone in this room, when more time is allocated, because there's been a lot of time requested and not much allocated, 10 minutes today, there's a lot more information that you can be given as to why that did not occur and what is actually occurring and what can happen on that site to return the investment back to Washington County. You have $1.7 million left in that fund. That's not going to last long. This development or a development on that site needs to occur before it falls back on the taxpayers to start paying. And that needs support, not just writing a check, but financial support and physical support from the county.
Okay, anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, discussion, we just did that one there, and audit request, Ms. Greaves.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Sarah Greaves, Chief Financial Officer.
Welcome. Good afternoon, I can say that now.
Yes. On June 5th, a request was made regarding an audit of certain accounts and/or funds within the county. I would like to review with the Commissioners some different types of audits and their purposes. Financial is the first one. Financial statement audits involve performing procedures to obtain evidence about the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements of an entity by an external auditor who is independent of the organization. These audits focus on accounting controls and substantive and analytical procedures that impact the general ledger or subledger systems. The auditors will give an opinion as to whether or not the financial statements are reasonably free of material misstatement. Financial statement auditing is the focus of our external auditors. The second type of audit would be considered an operational audit. Operational audits are undertaken by an organization to provide assurance over the effectiveness of internal controls, risk management, and governance to facilitate the achievement of organizational objectives. They typically center around key activities, including monitoring the effectiveness of internal controls and proposing improvements, investigating instances of fraud and theft, monitoring compliance with laws and regulations, evaluating risk management policies and procedures, and examine the effectiveness, efficiency, and economy of operations and processes. The third type of audit is a forensic audit, which involves the use of auditing and investigative skills to situations that may involve legal implications. Forensic audits may be required in the following instances: fraud investigations involving misappropriations of funds, money laundering, tax evasion, and insider trading, quantification of loss in case of insurance claims, and determination of claims of professional negligence relating to the accountancy profession. Many times, audits do include agreed-upon procedures. An agreed-upon procedure is a standard that a client outlines when hiring an external party to perform an audit on a specific test or business process. The extent of the procedures, including the time period, processes reviewed, scope of sampling, and extent of total procedures, will determine the audit effort and cost. Therefore, because the scope will determine the cost, if the Board of County Commissioners wishes for me to move forward or wishes for the county staff to move forward, please let us know any parameters that can be defined so that we can do so.
Okay, any questions or comments, Commissioners?
Types of audits.
Mm-hmm.
What about cost and parameters?
Well, speaking with professionals, it really depends on the scope of the audit. So, if it spans several years, 5 to 10 years, the price would increase. I'm thinking anywhere from $10,000 up towards $80,000 or $90,000. And that is just kind of dependent on what scope is provided. So if it's one account, and there aren't many transactions in that account, if there's 20 transactions or 30 to 50 transactions a year, and you want 5 years, that may be $15,000 or $20,000. May not even be that much, maybe $10,000. But if I would be able to gather a scope from you, that would help me come back with some different cost options available, if that's what the Board of County Commissioners would like.
I think that I'd like that from a minimum to a maximum of how in depth, especially with the forensic audit, as far as what could be expected, as far as maybe description of the cost of what it would be at a minimum and what that would get us, and also what it would get us in depth of, and it could be staged from a standpoint of, as we may find something initially, that we could go deeper into it as it goes forward. Or operational, any one of the three. But
so it almost sounds like you want to start with the operational audit, and then if there's anomalies, then that might require
sort of. I'm surprised we don't have a little bit of a scope of
what I would be
thought
looking.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, didn't you? The span of where we're going, we're leading to.
What I would be looking for would be, certain funds that you would be interested in, or certain accounts, if there are certain accounts of interest. And I think that probably regarding the audit, it's probably more of an agreed upon procedure that the Board of County Commissioners is interested in. There's maybe something specific that you want looked at. That will keep the costs lower, instead of broadening the situation to an entire fund for a certain number of years. It's hard when I've talked to the professionals in the field. It is difficult for them to give me information on a minimum and a maximum without a more defined scope.
So, for example, some of our fund balances, I think it was shared with us a while back, our hotel rental tax was in the minus, and we were reporting it that way. So from the financial audit standpoint, it was being reported correctly. Is that within policy? Is that okay to do? How often was that done? Did that require commissioner approval? Did it get commissioner approval each time? Like the Cascade project, I think that's coming up next when we talk about the expenses for that project. In the beginning, before Pinmar was dissolved and that money came to us, we were using hotel rental tax dollars to pay for that economic development, which is an appropriate way to use that money.
Correct.
But when we're in the negative and we're using that money, that means we're taking money out of the general fund somewhere else. So general taxpayer dollars are, in essence, paying for some of that project until we reimburse ourselves. We collect that tax revenue we haven't yet received and collect it in the future. The $250,000 loan for the waste energy program that didn't get commissioner approval. Fund balance in the landfill, it was shared with us a couple weeks ago. Was that fund balance below policy? Is that correct?
Yes.
That fund balance was below policy. What other fund balances go outside of policy? When they do go outside of policy, should the commissioners know about it? What does their policy state on that? How often does that happen? Can you look for big dollar amounts? I mean, I don't know what you would define as a big dollar amount. Obviously, $250,000 is big. But along those lines, I think that's what, when this concept was talked about, that's kind of what I envisioned. So I don't know what my fellow commissioners think about that, but...
Okay, well, I think what we need to do there is just whatever the commissioners that have some accounts of interest, I guess, just get that information to Sarah, and then Sarah can kind of send the information out to see what type of cost it's going to be.
I can summarize what you said to me, send it to you in email for your approval or modification, if that's acceptable.
So
I'll give you a call.
You'll talk to me. Okay.
I'd like to step in. Sarah reports to me, and I feel that I want to be clear what the board's direction is rather than simple direction from commissioners. With all due respect, I think it's important. And I will defer to you as a board if you wish to override that, but I'd like to request that we have board direction. We don't put staff in a difficult position. We will certainly be glad to do whatever the board wishes to be done.
Okay, so commissioners will provide some information to Rob, and then you'll provide it to her.
And we can collectively meet with you, that's fine, but we'd like to bring that to the board to be sure that everyone's on the same page.
Okay. Commissioners, any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you, Ms. Greaves.
Thank you.
Oh, you're
I'm
up again.
Do you want me to
Okay,
read?
Cascade Investor Relations Expenditures.
Okay.
Ms. Greaves.
All right.
How are you
thank
this afternoon?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Okay, great. Okay. Cascade Investor Relations Expenditures. On Tuesday, June 19th, 2018, the Board of County Commissioners requested an update on the expenditures related to the divestment and redevelopment to date for the Cascade Town Center. The county has had ownership of Cascade Town Center since September 15th, 2016, and received funds totaling $3.5 million. These funds pay for the costs associated with the Cascade Town Center, including costs related to investor relations and the redevelopment of Fort Ritchie. The total cost through 6/26/2018 for Cascade Town Center redevelopment initiatives is $684,000. These costs were incurred between the timeframe of 8/31/2015 through 6/26/2018. Costs incurred prior to 9/15/2016 were originally paid out of the hotel rental funds, but then were subsequently reimbursed through funds received at closing for Cascade Town Center. The remaining fund balance for the town center as of 6/26 is $1.7 million. A change in leadership did occur in the spring of 2017, and therefore trips to Korea that occurred in 2015 and 16 cannot be attested to in as such detail as been obtained for trips following that time. All funds expended in 2017 and 2018 have been formally approved by the board. Additionally, expense approval and reporting related to documentation for such trips have become more formalized since 2017. The board has been committed
to the efforts for redevelopment and growth at Cascade for several years. Just recently, in 2017, the board approved and staff executed the transfer of the 63 acres of land. The land was required at that time to meet an investment opportunity. As with numerous engagements throughout the project history, staff has been diligent in meeting project timeframes and deadlines. A full listing of travel and/or other business-related expenditures of the account are provided. The first attachment that you see here is the recap of the Cascade Town Center activity, which shows the money that was received from Penmar of the $3.5 million, and a detailed high-level account of where we stand now with a fund balance of $1.7 million. The second page to the attachment includes a detail of the expenditures to date, which does include the trips and other additional costs that have been paid for from the fund. And then on page 3 of your attachment is just further detail regarding the costs that you see on page 2. So nothing new, nothing different, just further detail. On page 2, you'll see an amount of $55,000 for the October trip. In the subsequent detail, you will see more detail related to that $55,000. So that is the reason for the subsequent attachment. If there are any questions.
Yeah, unless I'm missing it on here, I wanted to see the breakdown for JGBLI, the amount that we've provided to just JGB. I know it's all for the good of the whole entire project, but when I requested this, I wanted the breakdown of JGBLI, and the reason being I thought it was unfair to JGBLI when a total was thrown out there. I think the perception was that they've spent all of that money, which I know all of the money is spent on trying to do something great up at the town center. But that's what I was interested in. I wanted to see the breakdown for JGBLI, the breakdown for past administration, and the breakdown in total dollars for this current administration. And all I was trying to do was I just wanted, for my comfort, to know that the perception that JGBLI has used up millions of dollars, whatever it was, almost $2 million total. I just wanted to be able to show what their portion was.
Okay, so when
that was the purpose for my request for this information.
Okay. As I'm gathering this information, the county has provided funds to JGBLI for the purpose of trips. So those were funds for possibly county employees. How much detail?
Well, I just wanted to break down for just the JGBLI people.
Okay.
The county people and the county people.
Okay.
And I know it was all for the good of the total project, but I just thought it was, for me, when I would go out into the public, I would get questions about the JGBLI group have used up the total amount of money, which is not totally true. Okay. So I think, to be fair, I think we should show exactly what their organization has requested for them.
I'm sorry I misunderstood your request.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. I probably didn't explain it correctly.
Okay.
Or accurately.
And I have a question too. Yeah. When the property was conveyed to us from the Penmar Development Corporation, $3.5 million came with it. What was the source of that money? Was that COPT, who invested upwards of $9 million, and that was the remaining money that they had that they conveyed to Penmar Development Corporation? Is that the source of the money that came with the Cascade Town Center?
Can you repeat that one time?
Was COPT, was that corporate office, is it public or private trust? Property trust, excuse me. Was that their money? What I'm getting at, it wasn't federal or state tax dollars, it was private business money that conveyed. But once received by the county, yes, you could say it's our tax dollars. But the 3.5 that conveyed, that came from COPT.
I
along
believe
with the
that's
property.
correct. Kim, do you?
I don't know. That's the
you know for
question I
sure
need.
on that?
Because
Okay.
I've read some articles of COPT investing up, a company investing up to $9 million in renovations to Cascade Elementary and other projects
Okay.
up there.
I will
So
get you an
to
answer
actually
on that.
Confirm the source of that money through Penmar development.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions from the commissioners on the information that was provided on the investor relations expenditures? On P card, in there you have a lot of P cards listed.
Mm-hmm.
That's your purchase card. And it says meals and all of that.
It's a credit card just for county business. And as you can see, there were meals provided mainly with investors.
So that would be like if you were meeting, large group. So
as you can see in July of 2016, there were several, July 19th, July 20th, July 25th.
Is that when they were here in Washington County?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the commissioners? So on the, I do have another, on the P cards there, on the dates. So that could have been like lunch, dinner.
Yes.
Okay. And then on a P card, when that information's turned in, is everything broken down that like, it just won't say meals?
Yes, that's correct. We require detailed receipts for those costs. Yes.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you. And then you're just, you'll let me know the cost for each group.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
He's there.
You just can't get rid of me today. I'm sorry.
Okay, here we go. A business expense policy revision, Ms. Greaves.
Okay, thank
Everyone's
you.
going to know who you are here before the day's over.
That's right. The recommendation today that staff would ask is for the board to approve the business expense policy with the revision contained herein. The business expense policy provides guidelines and establishes procedures for those incurring business expenses on behalf of the county. Business expense reports are required by individuals seeking payment for business-related expenditures. These business expense reports must be reviewed by department heads and/or division directors. The county would like to make one modification to the policy, which includes the addition of an overnight travel authorization form. This form will be filled out by the employee who is expected to travel overnight for work purposes prior to making any travel arrangements and/or their departure. This form will be reviewed by the department head or division director and the county administrator. Information required on the form includes travel dates, the purpose of the travel, the benefit to the county, and cost estimates for the trip. You will find attached the full business expense policy. Page 2 highlights the change in yellow that is being proposed. The last page in your packet is a copy of the travel authorization form. Again, page 2, highlighted in yellow, overnight travel. This is the section that is new for the policy. And then the last page of the attachment shows the overnight travel authorization form that the county is requesting to add to the policy. Do you have any questions?
Commissioners, any questions? Okay, there is a recommendation to approve the business expense policy with the revision.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Updates on projects in South County, Mr. Hobbs and Mr. Eshelman and Mr. Sterling.
Good afternoon. Scott Hobbs, Director of Engineering. Andrew Eshelman is here with me, Chief of Design. He's passing out some information in regards to Garrett's Mill, so we wanted to give the latest update on the South County flooding projects that we have. First being Chestnut Grove Road, which has been underway since the end of June, has a 50 calendar day contract. They're well underway, and currently the end date of construction, the completion date, is August 13th. So we're moving diligently on that to open up Chestnut Grove, which we realize is an inconvenience for the traveling public, but we're moving forward on that. Second of all, Garrett's Mill Road. We completed the geotechnical work there. We're moving forward with the design contract we advertised last week for the project, and it's a modified design build project. We looked into some alternatives along the road because of the longer detour, so I wanted to turn it over to Andrew and Jim and stated in the ARF there's some information there with the right-of-way with the Department of Natural Resources and the ongoing communications that we've had there.
Yes, so in order to alleviate some of the inconvenience with the detour, which is currently running about 3.9 miles for people to travel around that area, which would ordinarily be about 1.5 miles, people on their own have been, I think, using this old abandoned railroad corridor that's currently owned by DNR as a cut-through. It's shown on that exhibit there between Garrett's Mill, just on the west side of the bridge, down to Valley Road. So we've been working with Jim's office to try to formalize that. Currently, there's an easement that exists for the one property owner who lives back there to have a right of entry. So we're trying to expand that right and that easement for the general public to use. This would be a minimal improvement. We wouldn't do substantial improvements in terms of paving or anything like that, but it could be used as an alternate cut through in the area. Jim, do you have anything else you want to give as far as updates?
Yeah, we're working with DNR. Just met with John on it this morning. We're going to reach out, try to get this agreement going. But in the meantime, they gave us the okay to go and start doing some minor improvements, some signage. We signed it this morning. We're going to take a look at locations for portable speed bumps to go in there and the signage for those later today. Hopefully have those installed sometime this week. Speeds, it's a narrow piece. It's the old Weaverton Rail Trail. The gentleman has a non-exclusive right-of-way through there, so we shouldn't have too much trouble getting the agreement worked out. It's just a matter of having their lawyers and our lawyers get together to put the final touches on it, so to speak. But yeah, it seems to be in good shape, and we're moving along pretty well with that. So we hope to have the speed humps in sometime this week, later this week. Garrett's Mill Bridge also, all the debris and the damage that was done, it's cleaned up. It's a little more presentable now. It looks like it's ready for construction, but it doesn't look like a bomb went off on it.
As far as the construction project goes, to highlight a couple things we're trying to do to speed this along as quickly as we can. Scott mentioned we did pursue this as a design build, meaning the contract was advertised both for the engineering work and the construction work that will occur. We've laid the groundwork as far as getting property agreements signed and executed beforehand. We've done the geotech work, and we have emergency authorization from Maryland Department of the Environment so that the contractor can really start doing some of the demo work and some of the other site work really in advance of the design being 100% complete. So that would be our goal to get started as soon as we can, because we realize that the way the schedule lays out, will be heading through the winter months, which aren't necessarily as ideal. We have included a incentive-disincentive clause, so that's $1,000 a day for every day that the contractor completes the project before the due date up to a maximum of 30 days. And then the flip is true, that for every day that would go beyond the completion date, it's $1,000 plus whatever liquidated damages we would assess, which is a normal contract requirement for going beyond a completion date.
And these projects are typically 1 year to a year and a half, and that's where we're looking from the May flooding. We're looking at a March completion date with the incentive, disincentive, and the project moving forward as a modified design build project.
So then on the 75% of federal funding for that project, they're okay with offering the incentive money?
Yes, we checked with them. They were okay with that, provided it follows the normal federal highway guidelines, which we do when we came up with that number. To give you a little more information, it's normally based on a road user cost. So that goes back to how long the detour would be, in the event the bridge is out, similar to what you would do for your taxes, expensing mileage. So it computes that and factors in what the average daily traffic would be for that road, and you run that scenario through to develop that number. So we've done that.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions on the update?
Just want to make a comment. You said that you're going to do work with how many days? What's the plan?
The total contract period is 225 days, so that would include both the design and the construction. So we didn't break those elements out separately because we're encouraging them to run some items concurrently. And because the road's already closed, we didn't see the benefit, to break those out separately. If we were doing a design build where the road was, say, open, we would probably put two separate, contract dates in for the design.
Circumstances of, you said, I think, Scott, you said a project like this would be a year and a half?
Year and a half project, yes.
So we're looking at and we're going to do it just as safe environmentally as we would otherwise.
Yeah, a lot of it is...
So bureaucracy is just weighting us down under normal circumstances. Right?
Yes and no. Yes. So ordinarily on this project of this size, yes, we would put it out to bid and we would go through and seek federal funds for reimbursement, and there's a whole process to go through. And so ordinarily we'd be looking at several years for design, and then construction would be a little bit more consistent, but it would probably be 6 to 9 months for construction at least.
Harpers Ferry Road. The baskets are in place. Thank you. And has the federal government got back with you as to any thoughts on the hillside there?
With Sandy Hook?
Yeah, the most that I've received is off-the-record conversations, and we've been in touch with the superintendent there as far as official communications, and it's been open-ended with no detail. Other than I know they have engineering staff that's working on it, but they have not given any detailed response. So we will follow up again. We have been doing that up to this point.
How about Back Road?
Good luck.
Back Road, and there's a bridge on Chestnut Grove Road too, right?
Yes, that's the one Scott was mentioning. That's under a construction contract. Back Road is one of the next projects that we're going to be working on and putting something out for advertisement, doing some staff level review and analysis at this point.
Can you give a quick update on Chestnut? I know that's been a concern as well because it's closed.
Right. So we're underway. Project started June 25th. There's a 50 calendar day contract. The completion date would be August 13th. So right now they're on schedule, just starting to get into some excavation work. They're doing some pumping, dewatering work at this point in time, but we're going to keep an eye on that and move forward and look to meet that August 13th date at least.
Yeah, so far we had to do a good bit of work because there's a large amount of excavation that will have to occur, and so we have to take that to an off-site location and get a plan approved for that. And they are going to be precasting some elements to help speed things along. So, at this point we haven't received any information from them that they wouldn't meet that deadline, but that obviously could change.
Yeah, and that's to replace the deteriorated clogged pipe, corrugated metal pipe with larger concrete pipes that'll hold more capacity in the future and larger and stronger. So we're moving forward on that.
That approved plan for offsite materials. That's something we can get the state's help with as well.
Oh, we've already done it. It's something that has to go through Soil Conservation District. They've already given us temporary authorization and asked us to follow through then with the official plan to kind of, formally document everything. And so that's what we're doing.
Pleasant Valley.
We just use that as a temporary basis, but we have a more permanent location where we'll be taking the material.
And that's similar procedures with Maryland Department of Environment and the permitting process. So we've gone through the process, and they've allowed us to move forward with our plan as presented to them and then submit the paperwork, which again lends ourselves to moving forward more expeditiously.
Will these updates be posted online, or could you and/or send us an email?
We've been working with public relations daily on the updates, and they're providing that.
Send me a current, up-to-date, brief update on those individual roads. So thank you. I don't know how you keep it straight, but appreciate it. Thank you.
Do our best. It's a lot to take care of, but we again want to keep the public and the residents down there aware of the last 3 closures, because that's important to us to get these open as soon as we can, and we're doing all we can in our office and staff to move forward as quickly as we can with all the obstacles we have regarding regulations, and still meeting those and moving forward with a successful project.
And you all have done a remarkable job trying to move South County forward, get some normalcy back down there. And I just want to thank you all for all your efforts.
Thank you.
And if the commissioners, you don't have to answer now or today, but I think it would be nice if someday possibly get in a van and give the commissioners another tour of all of the improvements that have been made down there since the floods. Sure. And it'll be bring your own lunch.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, any other questions or comments?
One quick thing, if it's okay. Certainly not to take attention away from the devastation that South County suffered. A couple of days after part of the same storm system, Clear Spring had some flooding. I don't know, maybe Rob, you can fill us in. A topic of discussion at the Clear Spring Town Council meeting last night. A blanket permit, that was a new concept to me, but I know county staff was able to help with that a week or so ago.
In fact, I think Rich, somebody from 80 West, I think, Rich, did you speak to Juanita at the town?
Thank you.
Okay, a motion to, or any other comments? Motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
If you would,
Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.